Hello everybody, welcome to Full Time Devils. This is the Manchester United versus Chelsea FA Cup preview. We are joined by Statman Daddy, who is joining us from his own brain. We have got Paul from Rant, and we've also got Gaz from Tut Radio. Hello fellas, how are you doing?
Magic, thanks. How's it going, mate?
Dave, I'm going to come to you first. We have actually lost a game under Gunnar Solskjær. Is the wheels about to fall off, or are the wheels about to fall off, or is it a little bit of a blip in the road on the way to glory under Gunnar Solskjær?
Yeah, I didn't expect United to lose until, I think I was thinking 2040, I think it was. So slight blip on that mission to go beaten for, 20 plus years. But it's one of these things where PSG are a very good side. We can't look past that. They've got a great coach in Thomas Tuchel. And United had those injuries. That was a big thing. The game completely changed with those injuries. And I think it's just a minor defeat. And you get over that as a football manager, as Gunnar Solskjær will do, and will continue to lead Man United to glory. So I'm absolutely fine with it. These things happen in football, and it's all about the reaction, as Gunnar Solskjær has been saying in his press conferences post PSG. Look, it's how you react to these defeats shows you as a player, as a person. So I'm looking forward to the Chelsea game, because it could be a situation for United to really, go after a team and look for blood early.
Gaz, I'm going to come to you next. Do you think losing a game takes any pressure off being undefeated? Was that starting to become a little bit of a thing that everyone was talking about, rather than concentrating on each game as it come up?
I suppose that's one way of looking at it. Maybe it would have been a lot more detrimental if we had lost to a lesser team. Maybe the fact that we lost to such a good team. It was Ollie's toughest game on paper before the game, and it showed out there as well. But I don't think we performed too badly, and it's a massive contrast still. And I don't want to keep talking about the last manager either, because I'm sure we're all sick of talking about him. But if you think about this time last season when we went out to Seville, and how we played in that game as well in the Champions League when we went out, this is completely different and a lot more positive. And even though we are, more than likely now out of the Champions League, it's going to take a lot, I think, for us to do it in that second leg. I still think we can have our heads held high and be very happy and excited.
Paul, I'm going to come to you for the next one. The same one. If Ollie fails to win a trophy, does that affect anyone's feeling on giving him the job full time, do you think?
Only people who are basing it on the wrong stuff. I think the reasons to give or not give Solskjaer the job should be in the details. It should be in the way he conducts himself, in the way he coaches the team, and the improvements he brings out in players, and the systems and development that he's putting into place, and his willingness to gamble on youth, and his kind of connection to United's footballing culture, and in him proving that he can handle intense challenges at this level, or at least proving that he has the potential to very quickly learn how to face those challenges. So I think the idea that if he should win himself the job by winning a trophy, I think that's only something we'd be saying kind of because he's won, we won 10 out of 11 games or whatever it was before the PSG game. So no, I think people should be, I think the decision makers should be looking at the kind of intangibles and also the tangibles of what he's bringing to bear on this team. And one kind of fortunate cup run shouldn't make a difference here or there.
And it is often down to a bit of fortune in a cup as well. Whereas league form, I see a lot of people harking back to Roberto Di Matteo's short reign at Chelsea and saying that's proof why you shouldn't just give it to an interim manager. I don't see that. He got very fortunate in the cup. He was extremely fortunate in the semi-final of the Champions League. But his league form was terrible. Whereas Ollie's actually gone on, and I think he might have already won more league games than Di Matteo did. So I don't see it as a thing that he has to do. I think it'd be a nicety to do, and I think if he did win something, it would further bolster the case. But I think failure to win something isn't really something in the negative pile, a reason not to give him the job. We are going to have a look then at the starting 11s. But before we talk about the starting 11s, I want to know who you now think steps up. So we have got a couple of injuries. I think the injuries played a massive part in our failure to get a result Tuesday night against Paris. And on paper, the squad looks pretty thin. The options there for Ollie to bring off the bench weren't vast. And now I think that we stare at the need to bring someone out of the sidelines into the forefront a little bit. Paul, who is that going to be?
I think it's a really good job that Alexis Sanchez is injured and we don't look to rely on him, because I think it's going to be a big problem if we try to do with Sanchez what we did with Rooney, which is everyone knows he's finished, but we keep hoping he's still good, he's just a little wet, he's still good. I'm not sure that Sanchez is ever going to come good at United. I'd love to be wrong, but I suspect that's what's going to happen. I think in the short term, I think there's a decent chance that Romelu Lukaku could make a positive contribution. Lukaku's obviously a player with significant limitations who, when he's out of form, is horrible to watch. But when he's in form, he's scored a lot of goals for us already, made an excellent contribution. I think it was against Leicester from the right wing. So there's some hope, I think, that Lukaku will step up. But what I'd love to see is Solskjaer to really gamble on a player from the academy. I think that would be amazing. This would be the perfect time to really put your money where your mouth is and gamble on a young player. Maybe even like play Angel Gomez.
Gaz, what do you reckon? Paul's saying like we should maybe look to the academy for a bit. We've got quite a few that would be candidates. I think Tahith Chong might be top of that list. I think Mason Greenwood is someone that could travel with the lack of strikers. Angel Gomez, Paul threw in right at the end there. Any of those you think that could step up for us without everyone being injured?
Oh, I'd absolutely love an unknown quantity to be thrown in there, mate, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think that would be the best thing for us, but I do think Ollie will probably stick with the experience a little bit. Whether Sanchez can be involved, I think if he can be, he will be in the squad in some way. Same with Juan Mata, but I do agree with what Paul said there about Alexis Sanchez at the minute. He just looks like a player whose brain is moving faster than his legs, if that makes sense. It seems like he knows what he wants to do but can't quite do it, which is a shame for him. It's almost looking like, the comparison there with Wayne Rooney. But I'd love to see an unknown quantity in there, mate, a player that I've actually kind of criticised, I think, in the past, because everyone seems to rave about him, but I've never actually seen anything great from him, and that is Andreas Pereira. Maybe the reason I've not seen anything great from him yet is because we've just not seen him enough in a Manchester United shirt. So maybe this is the chance to give someone like that a game. I mean, especially against someone like Chelsea. I understand not wanting to give Tahith Chong a game in such a match like that.
Doesn't make a lot of sense, that to me. Where if they're good enough, you play them. It shouldn't matter the magnitude of the game. If you think they're going to add to the squad, you throw them in the mix. Dave, do you think a change of system could be on the cards, looking at the limited options that we've got, or do you think he will go to the well of the academy and bring someone out?
Without Jesse Lingard, it's such a blow. Again, Jesse Lingard isn't the guy that's going to get all the headlines, but what he does off the ball, both when United have the ball and when they don't, it's massively missed. So I think looking to maybe the academy and bringing a Gomez or a Chong into the side would be where I'd go with. I think that'd be a nice thing, considering who United have out injured. A bit of pace in there with Chong could be good on the right wing, and that'd be exciting for Manchester United. Sanchez, I agree with Paul. I don't know what's going down with him at the moment. Again, I really want it to work, but it sort of Paul brings it up. It feels a bit like Wayne Rooney. So I think Manchester United needs to play that midfield base of those three guys and play three forwards: Lukaku, Rashford, and either Chong or Angel Gomez.
It's a shame for a player like Juan Mata as well, because do you not think that he just doesn't fit into the system right now? Do you not feel like he could go elsewhere and still do brilliant things? Or
100%. That's definitely how I feel about it. And I even think if Solskjaer doesn't get the job and Pochettino comes in, he might actually really be pleased to have Juan Mata around and play him as an actual number 10.
Dave, do you think Fred could do a job in what Lingard does off the ball?
Yeah, I think that'd be a really interesting proposition. I think if I would have gone back and we could rework the world and the time and I was Man United manager, I probably would have brought Fred on instead of either Juan Mata or Sanchez. I think what Fred could have done was just to be a bit surer in a defensive sense. Man United defended really well in that first half. Second half a little bit opened up in those wide areas, and you could have put Fred on the wing. Sounds a bit crazy, but it would have worked. It would have negated the threat from their wing backs, which again opened United up in the situation. The goal came from a wide area that could have been alleviated. You think in the corner that was won was a similar move. So I would have gone Fred, would have potentially even thrown on Delot as well. Delot's a player that could play further forward. He has the talent, he has the ability to do that. So it's one of these things where I think United have got a few options here. I'd like to see youth, but I could easily see someone like Fred, someone like Delot coming in and actually playing in a wide position.
But on the PSG game, I thought once we did bring Sanchez and Mata on, and they came a little bit central, we basically limited our forward options, and they almost ignored Pogba then. They shackled Pogba in the first half, but they ignored him in the second half because they knew they only had one runner to hit, and that was Marcus Rashford. So they just marked him out of the game, and I thought it was an excellent tactical job on us, reacting to what we did, and I thought we was a little bit soft in that that. So if there's any criticism levelled at the coaching staff, I thought that decisions in the substitutions wasn't great on Tuesday night against PSG. But we do have an FA Cup game. We are still in the mix. We are going for it on all fronts, kind of. Anyway, here's a quick ad break. All right, starting 11 time, and the last time out, Adam and Statman Daddy managed to get 11 out of 11, and guess who didn't, Gaz?
Who?
You.
Who?
You.
Oh.
Another 11 out of 11 coming. Lindelof and Phil Jones as the two centre-halves.
That is what I think.
You
Ollie
want Phil
goes
Jones
for.
alongside
I don't want
against
it.
Mbappe?
I do not want it. I don't want him anywhere near this freaking football club.
Like I said to you at the time when you put Phyllis of Jones in your team, and I went, it's no bueno.
And it was a bit
You
of
will
a
listen to me one
curveball.
day.
To be
You
honest,
will
though, I'm
listen
glad
to
I
me
was
one
wrong.
day.
It means that he's not Ollie's first choice centre half. So,
However, it is time for the starting 11. Dave, we are going to come to you first after you got 11 out of 11. I actually think it's quite easy to pick a Solskjaer team, except this weekend with all the changes that we've got. You're going to do well to get 11 out of 11 here. So give us what you think it's going to be.
It's a hard one. I can't guarantee being a gunman again and getting an 11 out of 11. But the back four and the goalkeeper, I reckon, will be correct. David De Gea. Then I think Delo may come in. Delo, Bay, Lindelof and Shaw. Matic, Herrera, Pogba in midfield. And the front three is the difficulty, obviously, with Jesse Lingard not being in there. So kind of thinking Rashford, Lukaku, Juan Mata. Juan Mata had a really good game against Chelsea in the league away at Stamford Bridge. The 2-2 draw should have been a 2-1 win.
Central, though. Played central in that.
He played an interesting position, didn't he? He actually played as a number 10 in the 4-2-3-1. So I expect Mata to be drifting inside from the right flank. But I think it's all about Marcus Rashford right now and Paul Pogba getting those two guys the ball, letting them combine, letting them open up teams. I'm excited to see Delo again. Excited to see him at right back. I think he gives a lot for Man United going forward. So that's what I hope with. I don't think it's 11 out of 11 this week, but last week, good work.
Go on then, Gaz. We'll give you a chance to redeem yourself after your abject failure of 10 out of 11 last week. Unbelievable.
Right, David De Gea in goal. I think it'll be Ashley Young at right back. Bailey and Lindelof as the two centre-halves, as it does appear they are Solskjaer's first choice, not Philip Jones. I'm glad I was wrong, what can I say? Luke Shaw at left-back. Midfielders, Matic, Herrera, Pogba. Then I've gone for Rashford, Lukaku, and I'm struggling with the right-hand side. I feel like it's probably going to be Mata, but I'm just going to say Pereira for something different.
So you got Rashford on the left? You put him back on the
Yes.
left and Lukaku down the centre. That's interesting.
Yes.
Paul, do you want to give us your starting 11, please?
formations.
Formations are pretty important to football, guys. Sorry, Paul. Formations are pretty
flexible,
important.
aren't they? When we're doing the starting 11, they're flexible.
No, I want to know what you think it's going to be. And why. And what goes on in that brain of yours. Really. Paul, do you want to give us your starting 11, please?
Not really, because I'm still bitter that I wasn't on the PSG preview for the 3 easy points. Still an absolute walk. 10 minimum. That 10, that game should be stricken from the record. You should get like one extra little blip for getting 11, because fair play, that's decent. But like that was a 10
We even got
minimum.
the Paris team perfect because it got leaked.
I don't know what the team is going to be for this game. Romero in goal.
Oh.
Because he played in goal against Arsenal. I just changed that. I just was about to say David De Gea, and
Paul pulled a
suddenly
sneaky.
remembered it's not going to be
He's
David
right
De Gea.
as well, it will be.
Yeah, Sergio Romero playing goal because he did against Arsenal, so I don't see how that changes. Even though it's weird when you think about it. Not that he's bad, like he was excellent against Arsenal actually, and he's a fine keeper. It's just weird that you don't play your best keeper in a big game, but that seems to be where we're at. Romero played in the Europa League final, which is still utterly baffling. But anyway,
great performance there.
Yeah,
Don't forget
absolutely.
that ball. Like Marouane Fellaini.
I'll never forget Marouane Fellaini.
Good, thank you.
Right. Talking of players I'll never forget, I think it'll be Ashley Young. Buy-in Lindelof and Shaw. Delo, the reason I'm not sure it'll be Delo is just because I wonder if he'll want experience on Hazard, although the experience was not so good against PSG. Herrera, Matic, Pogba across the midfield. I don't particularly see any reason to change that for this game. And then up front, I've gone with Mata on the right, Lukaku through the middle, and Rashford on the left. Although what I'd like to see is Lukaku on the right, Rashford through the middle, and another on the left. because I'd almost rather see Juan Mata play in midfield instead of Matic, play Herrera in the kind of holding role. The one thing that I want to see in this game tactically is I want to see Herrera on Jorginho. That's the thing that I want to see more than anything else, because we saw the job that Herrera did on Hazard under Mourinho, and one of the 3 good managerial decisions that Mourinho made in his 2.5 years at Manchester United. But I think Herrera would be the man for the job this time around, and it would keep our attackers free.
Right then, it's time to talk about Chelsea. They are not having a good time of it at the moment. Who do we need to be looking out for? Where can we get at them? And will Sarri be in charge by Monday night, Paul?
I think the fact that Sarri hasn't been sacked by now, probably, I mean, it'd be kind of mad if they just held off to just wanted to leave it as late as possible.
Do it on a Friday, get him out.
Yeah, exactly. Have the weekend free. No, it's just not working out at all so far, is it? And obviously this has been widely discussed everywhere that people discuss football, but the personnel and the managerial style don't seem to be meshing particularly well. I mean, I think there's also some specific issues. And Sarri, I mean, again, this is not the most wildly original thought or anything, but Sarri really reminds me of Van Gaal. And the difference between a Sarri and a Van Gaal and like a Guardiola is a dogmatist in a lot of ways. Like it has to be a certain way. The football has to be played a certain way, but he'll adapt to the conditions he finds himself in. His Bayern side, his Barcelona side, his City side have all played quite differently with the same basic kind of framework. Sarri, on the other hand, is like, no, repetitions, you just do it this way over and over again. And right now they are looking like Van Gaal's United with Hazard on top, because Van Gaal's United probably didn't have.
To be fair, Paul, their team is significantly better than what United's was under Van Gaal, and should be doing a lot better than they are doing, I think.
No, I think that's. There's a reason that's a reasonable argument. I'm not convinced the difference is that wild, and a lot of why United were bad under Van Gaal is actually that they really backed Van Gaal in the market. And Van Gaal made some pretty bad decisions with that money, as we've seen in the kind of clear out that's come since. But yeah, no, I mean, they look really flat, really toothless. Although they've got Hazard and Higuain, and so there's this latent threat there the whole time. And what will be absolutely shocking is if they're anything like as bad as they were against City.
Dave, we saw them start off like an absolute rocket. Where do you think it went wrong after that blistering start that we saw? Sarri ball and everything. It was the new thing, wasn't it?
It kind of is still pretty good. I think the reaction by the media is mad. I think that some of those Chelsea players we've seen, that they got Mourinho sacked, they got Conte sacked, and now they're getting Sarri sacked because they don't like how tactical it is. Like, there's a point where you've got to evaluate your players and your team and your squad and think, this guy was very successful at Napoli. Don't get me wrong, he didn't win the league, but he came second consistently, and he played some scintillating football. The football's slightly different to Louis van Gaal, but I understand where Paul's coming from with that, heavily possession-based, heavily drilled side. And I think you've got to look at the players and look at some of them and think, you're literally throwing this guy under the bus. We know about Courtois. Why Courtois got shunted out of the club and got sold to Real Madrid? Because he was the snake in the dressing room. There's still some snakes in there. Cesc Fabregas apparently was one of those guys as well that got Conte sacked, that was around when Mourinho got sacked. Like, there's a time where you got to go, all right, okay, Eden Hazard, is he right for Chelsea Football Club? Probably not. For a player to halfway through the season say, I've made a big decision after being heavily linked with Real Madrid, and then going, falling out with the manager, it's just utter crap for me. And I think there's players in that, that don't fit Sarri's tactics. Kante's one. Why give Kante a new massive contract if he doesn't fit the tactics? Move on. I understand Kante's a Premier League winner, doesn't fit the manager's philosophy. Abramovich has always wanted to go to this model. He's always wanted to be Barcelona. He's now got this Barcelona-esque manager. He needs to rebuild the squad. You can't go from being dogmatic, defensive, pragmatic football to possession-based football and expect in half a season that it's going to be okay. It's going to take time. And if Chelsea can't give this manager time, then that's a horrible indictment on their football club and what they've become under Abramovich. And that's the shame. Jorginho gets slammed in the press. Jorginho is a wonderful footballer. Oh, he's got no goals, he's got no assists. He's a defensive midfielder. His job is to move players around. His job is to dictate the play, which is exactly what he does if he doesn't have a direct opponent. Something United may need to do. Direct opponent for, Jorginho. Great thing with Ander Herrera, could be the guy, as Paul mentioned, but it frustrates me listening to Chelsea fans, the media, and talking about someone like Sarri like he's an idiot, like he's finished, like he's done. when a guy has literally gone from one footballing philosophy ideology scale to the complete opposite in like 7 months. And at the start of the season, they're playing some really good stuff. And then you question the players' mentality.
The fans really have lost the rag with him as well, haven't they? The fans are proper to
I think that's too simple, Dave. I don't entirely disagree with what you said by any means, because I think a lot of it's very reasonable. But I do think it's too black and white. I do think that this is what the point I was trying to slightly inarticulately make about Guardiola compared to Sarri and Van Gaal is that there is a dogmatism that comes along with that kind of like a combination of being extremely set on what you think football aesthetics should be and being drilled in the Italian school that is going to make a stubborn manager.
I completely agree with that. Like, one of the things I said at the start of the season is for Sarri to be a success in the Premier League, he needs to learn to be a little bit more pragmatic. I think one of the things could be is, Jorginho needs defensive cover. N'Golo Kante a little bit different. Again, but then he has to redesign his system. But give the guy time to do that. And I understand what you're saying. I agree that there's this, with Guardiola, it is how we beat teams, this is how we're going to do it. And I don't really see that in Sarri, and I didn't see that in Sarri at Napoli. But his vision of football is beautiful. And it's one of those things where I'd like to see it a little bit longer, but it kind of looks like he's not going to get the chance to even become pragmatic or become dogmatic. See what I'm sort of coming of? I think the Premier League sort of, it challenges you a lot.
I do.
But I just... 6. Not on that, honest.
Gaz, everyone. Gaz, what do you know about football?
Fix radio every morning.
Right, Gaz, stick with you then. Give us your score prediction for Monday night FA Cup, Chelsea United. Who's bouncing back first?
I'm going to go 3-1 United. I'm feeling good. I feel like those Chelsea players, I feel like they're not the type of players when things aren't going great for them to pull the socks up and get on with it. They're going to throw the toys fully out the pram. I think if we get an early goal, we could steamroll them.
David, score prediction, please.
2-1.
Ooh. Paulo, score prediction, please.
I don't even need to ask Dave who he means 2-1-2, do I? I guess I was going to go 2-1 to United, but I'll go 2-0 to United to pick a different score.
I'm going to go 3-0 United, because I think once we get one, if we get one, I think we might roll onto them, but it's going to be a very interesting starting 11. You guys let us know in the comments what score prediction do you think? Who's going to be the key player? Who steps up? And how's it all going to unfold at Chelsea at the Bridge on Monday night? Give all these guys a follow on social media. Paul, where can they find more of your stuff?
Well, if anyone's interested and is a podcast listener, if you search for United Rantcast on any podcast platform, you'll find our podcast pretty much every week.
Gaz, where can we find more of you?
You can get us on the Fix Radio Manchester Breakfast Show every weekday morning, 7 till 9 a.m.
And David, where are we finding you?
Well, if you want to see more tactical analysis, go over to the Squawker YouTube channel. Do it now.
Awesome. Well. And while we're throwing out plugs, I did a podcast with Wesley Brown, which is getting uploaded tomorrow. So we'll go on my channel and check that one out. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe to Full Time Devils and stick around for all the match day coverage on Monday as well. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you in the next one.